I'm John Turley-Urt, and welcome to FP Executive. I'm joined today by John Dawkins, who is the head of retail at IBM Canada. And thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
We're going to talk about the new consumer today. We're going to talk about social media. We're going to talk about this new competitive environment that retailers and consumers find themselves in. I know that you have global experience, and you've been working with retailers to try and figure out what this new consumer wants. From everything you've seen recently, what does this new consumer look like? What sort of tools do they have at their disposal when they go out to shop?
Well, in terms of new consumer, it's kind of interesting because everybody's aware younger people have grown up in an industrial revolution with the internet, and now with smartphones, and everybody's aware of that, and they, with gaming and everything else, and they're very technology savvy, and they very frequently shop with multiple devices. The reality is, even people up into their 50s and 60s are adopting the same kind of solutions and technology. So it's not just young people that are shopping and new behaviors, etc.
So we're talking about a demographic that isn't limited to, say, the 16 to 25-year-old. We're talking a demographic that spans the entire range.
Right. In fact, IBM did a recent consumer study for Canada, and actually it was interesting that from a social media point of view, people in their 30 to 40s actually are adopting this technology kind of approach very actively, for instance, with social media following a retailer.
Okay.
And what they want to do is even participate with a retailer as a brand and provide advice to them in terms of how to improve the brand experience.
Interesting. One of the issues with social media is the immediate, I would think, power that consumers get. That is, you have the ability to find out where stock is, but you also have the ability to comparison shop in a very immediate and convenient sense. How is this changing the way retailers engage consumers from your perspective?
Yeah, I think we're at the cusp of a revolution in terms of pricing in the marketplace in retail. So, for instance, with my smartphone, what I can do is use the camera just to take a picture of the code or punch in the product number. So for anything that's like a national brand, it then can immediately scrape e-commerce websites, use the GPS that's resident in the smartphone and say, okay, within this trading area of 5-minute drive time, what's the price, what's the offers? And I can be in store at a retail location and immediately be doing price checks. So, for instance, Amazon.com in the U.S. is actively seeing this happen with mobile phone. That it's not just through e-commerce that people are doing price checks. And Amazon's opening up distribution in Canada in the short term. So,
I would think that for a lot of retailers, this might be a frightening thought that the consumers walking into their stores will be able to show their smartphone and their competitor's price. Do you see this as a real, not so much challenge, but an opportunity? Because there's got to be opportunity in here as well, not just something to be frightened of.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it goes back to any kind of corporation and brand, which is how do you differentiate yourself? What do you stand for in the marketplace? And you can't just be lowest price. Even if you are in the very competitive discount business, you're still, there's always somebody who's cheaper.
Right.
And so the reality is every retailer has to focus on in terms of what are the added value services I provide? How do I handle customer experience, whether the customer is shopping at home, shopping in the store? So we see this huge drive for instance, a focus on customer centricity on an enterprise basis, and how do I really manage multi-channel shopping as well across all these different touch points.
Okay, so what we're seeing then, one of the ways to at least try to make sense of this is that this is not just a single channel, this is a multi-channel way to reach your customer and and hopefully gain business when you're doing that as well.
Right. Yeah, because e-commerce is not new.
Right, of course, it's been around for some time. Let's talk about adding value in the second part of our discussion, and we'll be back in just a minute.